Welcome back to Andersen Acres. We're out here at our relatively small garden patch. Remember, we have just moved here this year and there's very little gardening space. We will be creating gardening space. But that brings me to today's topic where I want to talk about designing your garden. It's kind of an ideal time to talk about designing your garden because we just moved here. There's no garden space and I'm going to have to redesign all our gardening spaces. So while I'm talking about that, we're just going to take a look at some of the plants we planted quickly while we were moving in, basically. So we'll talk about that as we move around, and I'll talk a little more about designing your garden space. So just figuring out what you want to be growing, where it's going to go, and what you want, okay? The look you want, the stuff you actually want to grow, that's the process of designing your garden. It sounds complicated when people say it, but it's really not. Pretty sunflower. Ooh. Watermelon down here. It is only July. Corn. So some people love planting their gardens. Some people do not. Okay, we're just going to go over here and I'll show you my cantaloupe patch, which is fairly new. It'll grow by fall, but it's fairly new because I literally just planted it. So some people love designing their gardens. Some people hate it. But it's still a necessary step. Some of the basics, or knowing some of the basics, will make your life a little bit easier. Those are my cantaloupes. There's about 6 plants in there. They're doing pretty well. But knowing some of the basics will help you. So plans are important. If you actually plan it out, you'll know where everything's supposed to go, what you need to build or buy, and exactly how long it's going to take you to achieve what you're looking for. Lack of planning leads to plants that perform poorly, are unattractive, or just get in your way when you're moving about. This is my pumpkin plant. He's actually doing pretty well. We got a couple of little tiny baby pumpkins happening. So hopefully we'll have big pumpkins later. A well-designed garden space can bring joy to you and the cat. To you and to the people you live with, to the people who visit your property, it can be quite joyous. And yes, we have some flowers that we threw in. Not going to worry about them too much. A good design is beautiful, and paying attention to your design when you get started actually helps you maintain your gardens. Because if you just throw everything hodgepodge together, you won't have thought about where things are supposed to go. It's a fire pit. But you won't have thought about where things are supposed to go or how you're supposed to get in there to look after them. A little bit of planning means things like weeding or watering won't be so difficult. So let's take the time to sit down, plan, draw it out, redraw it if you have to. Because, man, I draw my garden plan 6 or 7 times before I get it right. So when you're doing your site plans, and I'm going to do another video where I kind of show what we're thinking for our property, but when you're doing your own site plans, you're going to want to take everything into account. Here's our potato patch. Okay, so you're going to want to think about where you want everything. You want to include space for everything you have already on your property, and you also want to include space for the things you don't have but you do want. So you want to account for play areas if you have children and you want to put in play structures and stuff like that. You want to think about recreation. So in our case, like we have a gazebo over here, and we have our fire pit. That's a lot of our recreation, and our swing here. That's a lot of our recreation, to be honest. We spend a lot of time hanging around the fire pit, swinging in the swing, hanging out in the gazebo if the bugs are bad. That's pretty much our recreation around here. We don't like going places. We like staying home. When you're planning your space, you also want to think about what you're going to grow and where you want it. So are you going to grow berries? we're going to do raspberries and stuff in here. That's not going to stay the potato patch. That's just where they went this year. So, are you going to do trees? We're gonna. We have a nice spot picked out. Way that way. Okay, beautiful spot picked out. It'll be fun. Are you going to plant vegetables? The answer is probably. Probably you're going to want to plant a vegetable or two. We're going to plant quite a lot because one of the ways I make a little bit of income is I sell seedlings. I'm going to need the space for that. So you're also going to want to think about, are you going to do a water garden or a pond? Plan that out. We're going to. That way. I'll show you more detail in the next video. You also want to plan out the stuff you have and the other stuff you're going to have. So are you going to have a chicken coop? You might want to draw that on your plan so you know where it goes. How about a barn? Maybe you're going to do a mini horse. Maybe you're going to do Shadowfax. You might do your own Shadowfax. Better plan out where his barn and run are going to go, because he'll need a barn to run. Are you going to have bunnies? Where are they going to live? These kind of things, you want to put all of that into your garden plan, even if they're not actually part of a garden, because, I mean, he's not part of a garden. Let's be honest, he's a pony. He doesn't garden. He's a pony. But if you have all this stuff in your plan, you draw out your barns, you draw out your paddocks, then you'll know where you can't put your garden beds, where you can't put your orchard, all of that stuff. It's really important, actually. It's fairly important. So you want to draw in your outbuildings. You want to draw in your house on your plans. You want to make sure it's pretty accurate. One of the problems people have, hi buddy. One of the problems people have is they draw their thing, they draw out their site plan, and they realize they didn't really measure. They didn't really take into account the size of anything. Hi, bud. Hi. I loves you too. Hi. Oh, little young chickens running away. Pony nose. Mwah. Smooches. Mwah. Our pony loves smooches. Go back towards the garden. But you want to make sure everything is accurately drawn out, that everything is to scale, because it's going to be really annoying if you think you can put in a 50-foot garden bed and you start doing it and turns out you only got 30 feet. It's annoying. Like, we're going to turn this area into gardens as well. It'll be fun. So make sure things are accurate. So we have to measure between the house and the trees. We got to get it right, or we will not plan the right size for our garden beds, because I want to do tomatoes and peppers and all those good stuff. One of the things I suggest that people do is get a Google image of your property. So Google Earth has a lot of those images. They're fantastic. It's really helpful if you get that Google Earth image and you just kind of use a photo editor to kind of pop in what you want, so you can kind of understand the sizes of everything, how much space you have, what it'll look like. Just going to go over here. We got cucumbers growing. We literally only have like 2 plants of each. So we got cucumbers growing. And there. Like we had no space. We got corn. So we had no space this year. None. So we got like 2 plants each. Kittens. So because we had no space, we needed to make sure we could fit stuff. So we only got a couple things of each. Okay? Ooh, kittens. High-speed kittens. Everyone look out. So know your space, plan your space, and just kind of walk your property, which is what we've been doing as we plan out our garden. And take care that you don't plant anything too far away. All right? Like we want a corn patch back behind in that corner. It's pretty far from the house, so if we're going to do it, we need a path to get there, because that's pretty treed in. So we're going to have to cut ourselves a path from over here, which is where we want to put an orchard anyway. So you really need to think about it. You really need to sit down and make a plan. And this applies to whether you're just gardening on your balcony or whether you are gardening in the country like we are. You need to know what kind of space you have. You need to have a plan for how to use it. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a hodgepodge that doesn't make sense. that is just too difficult to manage and that you might not even be able to maintain properly. So take some time, draw out what you want, and make sure it'll fit in the space you've got. Yes, Shadowfax, we love you. We love you. So, that's about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. Next time when I talk more about gardening, I will show you some images of what we kind of are planning in our property, and I'll kind of walk you around where we're thinking things are going to go, because it'll be fun. So until then, we'll see you tomorrow.